Hello and welcome to Ames in Focus, the podcast that connects you to the people and programs shaping life in our city. I'm Bill Gebhart with the City of Ames, and today we're talking about crime, but probably not in the way you might expect. This isn't about sirens or late-night investigations. It's about the steps we can all take today to prevent crimes before they happen. From avoiding scams to securing your car to recognizing red flags in the workplace, there are some simple habits that can make a big difference. And joining me once again is Officer Nate Rivera, our Community Resource Officer and resident expert on keeping Ames safe and informed. Nate, welcome back.
Thanks, Bill. I'm starting to feel like part of the family.
Absolutely. You're welcome here anytime. So if you want to host next week, I'll let you do that. So talking about this, let's start with the big picture. When we say preventable crimes, what are we talking about?
These are incidents where each citizen can have a direct effect on preventing a crime, right? So this is anywhere from property crimes to personal crimes and being able to have some direct input on affecting that.
So what is a personal crime?
So we're talking about assaults. Everybody has that conception of that concept of, you know, the guy jumping out of the bushes in the dark and that kind of stuff. And that's not really a pervasive crime that we see in Ames. But we're talking about personal safety and awareness. We're talking about property crimes as far as like burglaries to motor vehicles and houses and sheds and stuff like that. And then we're talking about some overarching theories on just general awareness, workplace violence, things like that.
And so I want to just bring up a few of the things you mentioned. So you mentioned burglaries, like whether that's property or vehicle. So you're saying that can be preventable?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've got this crazy thing called lock-a-door.
Whoa, what's that?
Yeah, it's a new concept out there. You know, so making sure that your house is secure. You know, if you're going to be gone for an extended period of time, whether that be, you know, the work day or going out for dinner at night, things like that, making sure that your house is secure. The doors are locked, the windows are locked to the status they need to be to prevent, you know, somebody from entering your home. And then the other big part of this is vehicle burglaries. We take a tremendous amount of vehicle burglaries every year. Not leaving valuables in plain sight in your vehicle is a great thing. You know, it used to be the GPS, TomToms and
the
Garmin's and the
dashboard
things, you know, stuck up on and those were a hot ticket. You know, back when I'm kind of dating myself here, but like, you know, CD faces, like your stereo faces, everybody had that little plastic case that they threw in their center console, their glove box, and then never used again. You know, taking that stereo face off. Now it's not an issue anymore because, you know, whatever. Right. But just not leaving valuables, computers, purses, backpacks that have, you know, stuff in them in plain sight, you know, throw them in a trunk, throw them in a cargo area where they're a little less visible, not leaving cash just sitting in your center console, right? Yeah. Not leaving change sitting in your center console where it's visible. Throw that, you know, in a locked cabin.
And so for somebody, if it looks easy to grab, then that, I mean, if it's not easy to grab, that becomes a deterrent. If it looks easy to grab, that's kind of more enticing saying,
I always talk about the club. You remember the club?
Yeah. On steering wheels, right?
Yeah. The steering wheel is a little bracket that you'd stretched out and locked. Like, did that do anything to prevent your vehicle from being stolen? Not really.
I don't think so.
Give me 10 seconds and a hacksaw blade. I'll just cut your steering wheel in half, slide it out of there and take your car. But what it did do was make your car less attractive as a target.
A little more trouble than the one next to it.
Yeah. So if I'm looking in cars and I see the club and I like over to the next car, no club.
That's less time with a hacksaw, right? Yeah. Okay. And then, so you were also talking about when you're going out for dinner at night or extended work day, making sure your house is locked up. I mean, do you guys find that a lot too? That sometimes it's that easy that the house isn't locked, the car isn't locked?
Yeah, that's an overwhelming majority of our burglaries are unlocked doors. There's no force used. There's nobody popping windows and breaking out and kicking doors and things like that, unless it's a specific target of a crime, right?
Yeah.
We've had situations where, especially in the collegiate area, in the big apartment buildings, where somebody will just walk down the hallway, even during the day, and just bump doors. They'll just bump doorknobs, and if it opens, sometimes they'll walk in, right? And I've taken several reports over the years where somebody just randomly walks into an apartment, not realizing somebody's there, and then it's that environment is so dynamic and so transitory. They'll walk in and, hey, is Billy, and they get caught in there. Hey, is Billy here? Well, Billy doesn't live here. Oh, my bad. Wrong apartment.
Wrong apartment.
And then they'll walk down the hall, bump a few more doors, and then maybe they find one where nobody's home and the door's unlocked. It happens more than you think.
Yeah, no, that's so even just locking the door. So just recapping real quick, what can residents do to avoid becoming easy targets?
Be aware. One, that's the biggest one. Just be aware. Making sure your doors are secure if you're not going to be at home. Making sure valuables are not in plain sight in your vehicles, especially.
Yeah. And so just doing all those little things, like you said with the club, just to make it a little bit harder.
Just less attractive targets.
Less attractive, right? And that's going to keep people moving on.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, right?
Hopefully.
And so the other thing you were talking about was personal crimes, right? Which could be assaults, things like that.
Sure.
Workplace violence may fall into that. That kind of seems a little more bigger and complex. But what can people look for to basically keep their person safer? What should they be looking for?
Things like traveling in groups, right? Especially in the darkness. If you go out in the dark, I carry a small little pocket flashlight with me at all times. You know, the criminal element doesn't like to be identified. They like to kind of work in the shadows at times, right? So carrying a small flashlight.
And most people have a flashlight on their phone. Now that I think about it.
Yep, they do. I actually watched a kid at the academy when we were doing building clearing. His flashlight died and he pulled his phone out and cleared the rest of the structure with his iPhone light, which was really entertaining. I gave him props for ingenuity, but it was a really lackluster experience.
Yeah.
And with this, staying safe, it's, dumb places with dumb people at dumb times of the day, right? That plays into a lot. Don't do dumb things,
with dumb people. Yeah. No, I totally get that. So, and that kind of leads into this thing. So taking care of our personal security, right? It's about security, but you're also saying it's about culture. It's about where you are and what you do.
Sure.
Not just making sure that you're safe.
Right. And that goes back to that awareness thing, right? If you go out and partake in a few alcoholic beverages, that lowers your ability to keep yourself safe, right? So limiting and moderation, things like that will really help you stay safe.
Absolutely. Or, and like you said before, even just not necessarily being around all of those people that are doing that too.
Sure.
Even if you are not partaking, but the people around you are, that can lead to some things as well.
You bet.
So, all right, let's go to kind of a big one, scams. Yeah. Right. So I feel like every week there's a new phone call or an email or some sort of social media message trying to trick people. Happens on our city social media all the time where they'll be like, oh, National Night Out, vendors, click here so that you can get signed up, but message me directly or whatever. And we're like deleting those, marking them as spam. But those are happening all the time. So what kinds of scams are kind of the most common in Ames right now or in general that you've seen?
So we see a lot of the online and phone call stuff, right? So we see pop-up windows, and a lot of the demographic that gets targeted with this is people that are a little more seasoned, a little older folks, right? They become a little less technologically adept, and that's an ever-changing world. And I remember being a kid and like playing Nintendo, right? Go back to the 80s.
Yeah.
And watching my parents try to process what was going on, right? They played video games, but it was at the arcade. It's not on your TV right in your living room.
Right.
And I remember the world just passing them by. And I promised myself I would never be that guy. But here I am. I have no idea how to use TikTok and like the kids with the Snapchat. And I'm really sounding old here. I'm nearly not that old, but man, I promised myself I would never turn into my dad, but here I am, a grumpy guy that listens to talk radio all the time.
I'm exactly the same. My teenagers will do stuff and I'm like, who even are you?
What is this?
What is this?
Right. So, making an effort to stay, on top of some semblance of the digital world is a good idea. I know it's impossible, right?
Yeah.
At some point you just don't care anymore. Right.
Absolutely.
I remember, I minimized a window on my grandmother's computer one time and she freaked out because it went away. And I was like, oh, it's right here.
It's right here on the bottom.
So, that demographic, that older generation, especially the boomer generation, as they get older and older, the baby boomers, they fall prey to this quite a bit. They get a pop-up on their computer. You've got a virus. Right. Click on this link. And then, that starts a complete spiral where they allow people to remote in. And, one of the common ones we see is the IRS scams, right? Or you're going to pay your IRS debt in iTunes gift cards or Bitcoin, right? So I think just kind of general overarching themes. And I actually have a talk that I give to groups, right? I've done it with Kiwanis, a couple church groups, and just general, social groups that are out in the community. So if somebody wants a more in-depth explanation of some of this stuff and how to avoid these and what scams are being done, have them get a hold of me.
Absolutely.
And I can come do a chat with them. So, but anyway, overarching themes we see are from these scammers is they take really off the wall forms of payment, gift cards, Bitcoin. If you're told to go feed $10,000 into a Bitcoin ATM, which if you don't know what a Bitcoin ATM, it looks like an ATM machine, but it just converts cash to digital currency.
Yeah.
That is a scam, right?
Absolutely.
The U.S. government doesn't take Bitcoin because it's an unregulated currency and they regulate the currency. So if you're ever being told that you need to pay this or that in Bitcoin, it's a scam. If they refuse to allow you to hang up the phone, that is a scam.
They keep trying to keep you on there and keep you going longer. Yeah.
We get spoofing. If people know what spoofing is, that's where I can use my telephone, route it through a program, and it'll show up from my, any phone number out there. It'll show up as the Ames Police Department or the Story County Sheriff's Office, and it'll show up with their number. And they do research, right? I'm Sergeant Johnson, or I'm, sorry, this, that, or the other. And they'll actually do research on our websites to see what personnel we have, because we do have a little bit of a public footprint with personnel.
Yep.
So, and it'll be very convincing. And then a lot of times that's the warrant scam. You have a warrant for this, that, or the other.
Does that come with a price too then to get rid of this warrant?
If you put $2,000 in a Bitcoin ATM and send it to this account, you can take care of this warrant. Other than some very specific investigations where I was in constant contact with a suspect or a victim working a case, things like that, we are not going to call you and notify you that you have a warrant.
Right.
It just doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And we definitely don't take Bitcoin as a remedy for your criminal activity.
Imagine you can't sell off their warrant either. Right. So what would be some more advice? Obviously looking for some of those telltale signs, but if someone thinks they're being targeted, if it smells fishy, just call us, ask us, things like that. We've taken scam calls over the years, and we actually created a subheading in our reports specifically for scams because we were putting them under like a fraud, and we took so many, we actually created a scam. Just call us. Yeah. So the main thing is be a little skeptical.
Absolutely.
Right. So if it seems something that's weird and out of place, it's likely that it is something weird and out of place.
You can always call us, right? We can have even if you don't want to talk or have an officer come to your place, like that. We have cell phones in all of our cars. That's a holdover from, the COVID-19 thing. All of our squad cars have a telephone. We can call you. You can give an explanation of what's going on, and we can help guide you through that process.
And so we've talked about a lot of different preventable crimes, right? From scams to safety culture, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. At the core of this is awareness and action though, right? Absolutely. That's what we're talking about. Bet. So you mentioned before that you give talks and do other things, but so if someone wants to learn more or talk to you directly or talk to another officer, what is the best way to reach out?
If they just call the police non-emergency number at 515-239-5133 and ask for me, the community resource officer, Nate Rivera, they'll get you to my desk or my voicemail, and I'll get back to you. I like going out and talking to the public. I do, these educational talks on scam prevention. I do a workplace violence talk that is really kind of geared towards kind of the hiring and firing squad, HR, upper management type stuff on some predictive algorithms on how to maybe prevent one of these on the front end, if it's some sort of workplace violence talk or workplace violence event, and having the ability to circumvent some of these situations before they become an issue is really what we're talking about here. It's prevention.
Yeah. And then you also said before you talked to community groups too. So
Sure.
Definitely you're doing that HR business workplace,
yeah.
but you're also doing these community groups, church groups, things like that.
Absolutely.
And we're just trying to make sure we're keeping everyone aware.
I'll go talk to anybody.
Absolutely. Good. I'm glad that'll work. Well, Nate, thank you so much for joining us again. These can be some tough topics, but the message is clear and we all have a role to play in preventing crimes. And we thank you for being there to help support us and all that too.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. A little awareness goes a long way, and your actions today could stop a crime tomorrow. Until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and we'll see you around, Ames.
Ames in Focus is a City of Ames podcast.